What's up, y'all? It's Shuffle, and in today's video, we're gonna recap the Q&A stream that Red Hook had, and this was yesterday as of the posting of this video, and Red Hook was kind enough to let me restream it and use it for some content. I'm not gonna play the sound in the background, and the reason I'm not gonna do that is because Red Hook's gonna upload this eventually. But if you just want the nitty-gritty of what happened, some of the highlights and the plans going forward, then you come to the right place. And the stream was about 2 hours long. There was some interesting info, some stuff we knew, some stuff we didn't know, some stuff was just fun to hear, like they talked about design process, and they answered community questions and stuff, and it seemed like they're really excited to talk about the game. And then since this video is coming out Wednesday, they're having a gameplay stream as well. So the Red Hook team is going to be playing the game in the studio for a couple hours. I don't have permission to restream that, but I will be there watching. So I will post the link to it down below. It's supposed to be 1 p.m. Pacific. All right, that's all the housekeeping. So what happened in this stream? The interesting, community questions and tidbits were that they did some things, like they reiterated that there was not going to be a battle pass because people asked about that. They said that the future updates after launch, they have ideas for free updates, because if you look at Darkest Dungeon 1, a lot of stuff came post-launch once they felt they had a good foundation, and a lot of it was free, like the Radiant update, Antiquarian, Shrieker, I believe, Wolf, stuff like that. All that was free. Modders, they talked about you as well. So as far as modding support goes, they do have plans to support it. They said it's gonna be the same or similar to DD1, which I'm not a modder, so I don't know what that fully entails, but they do want to support it. They want to support your efforts. They're just not going to do it right away. I think it's something about like the tools that they use. They're not going to let you get in there and get them immediately, if at all, but I can't remember exactly the framing. But the more important thing, I think, is that there will be some modding support. I mean, people are already modding the game as it is, and I think just the more people that get access to the game, the more the modding scene is going to pop off. And Tyler was talking about this specifically. So it seems like they want to support the modders, which is good news, because there's a lot of great mods out there, from simple little, quality of life things like increased roster size, or faster XP, more gold, or, haste, like speed mods and stuff. And then there's, massive overhauls like Black Reliquary, shouts to the BR team, and, Sunward Isles. There's all this content out there for the game, and that's possible because, I guess Red Hook opened the door to it, and they'd like to do it again. So finally, modders are being heard, which is good, because I know the modding community really has been asking about this for a long time, because a lot of the replayability of the game for people, after they beat the DLCs and stuff, was playing mods, and there's some really good mods out there. So that's really good to hear. They talked about Bounty Hunter, and it seemed like they were really prepped for this question. I think it's just because they've answered it several times, like in the Discord and stuff. And they asked why Bounty Hunter is not a shrine hero, or a crossroads hero with shrines. And Chris mostly took the lead on answering this, and he said that the way he put it was, a lot of people, when they write dark and mysterious characters, they end up telling you too much about the dark and mysterious character, and they stop being mysterious and interesting. It's kind of like the not knowing is what makes them interesting. And then once you know, it's not as fun. So that's why he doesn't have shrines. And the other reason they don't have shrines or BH doesn't have shrines, is also a not just a story choice, but also people, I don't think, understand that the shrines, like the 5 hero shrines that you do to get all your skills and stuff, those take, time to put together. They have to script the narration. They have to get Wayne to do the lines. They have to get the gameplay team to make battles. They have to get the art team to make new assets because they aren't normally seen in the game. You think about it like Runaway, her first shrine, no spoilers, but it's her like escaping the church, and she's in, an actual like religious outfit, and there's statues and stuff. It's like all of that takes time and effort, and they didn't really want to do it for Bounty Hunter in the beginning, and then this is just kind of like a solidifying reason. The way I think Chris explained it too was he really likes Boba Fett and Batman. That's who Bounty Hunter is based on. And the book of Boba Fett, when he watched it, he said it answered all the questions he never had about Boba Fett and let him see under the mask, and he didn't like any of that. So I understand that's definitely a creative choice, and I think something that the people who really want Bounty Hunter to be a full character, I think a lot of the aversion to the way Bounty Hunter was implemented was just because we didn't have any other permanent heroes first. I think if we had 1 or 2 permanent heroes and then we got Bounty Hunter, I think people wouldn't be as upset, but because of the way it, the order they came in, I think people are bothered. And I understand. I'm not saying you can't be upset about it, but this was the reason that they gave behind it. And as far as other hireable heroes, because people were asking that, they were saying, are other characters going to get the Bounty Hunter treatment? And they said no. They said they don't want anyone else to be hireable like the Bounty Hunter after this, and they said that is just BH's gimmick. That's his thing. He's a special dude. He gets that. And that's what's going to make him special, besides, not having a backstory that you can explore. And I like that. That was a good answer, I think. And, they're making jokes about it. They're saying, we're not going to make a DLC that's 6 mercenaries that come in the game and you hire each of the mercenaries. You're not going to do that. So people who are, wondering about Bounty Hunter and the gimmick or mechanic, whatever you want to call it, behind him, there's your answer to that. And so I think I talked about future updates coming later. Right? These are just the questions. Some of the other stuff that was interesting to listen to, well, they reiterated there's no battle pass. So there's not going to be any, MTX besides, I guess, the scope of DLCs they did in the past. But yeah, so there's no battle pass, no, daily login bonus, none of that crap. So that's good. People were worried. They said they weren't going to do that, a bunch of times already, but it's good that they're on record again in a public forum like that. It's not Discord. So people know, which is good. One of the other things they were joking about, which I thought was cool, was they were talking about who their favorite characters were. Obviously, Chris had Highwayman. Tyler, I was surprised, picked Plague Doctor, but I agree with that choice. Before I was a Grave Robber main, I was a Plague Doctor main, so I definitely I see the allure just because she's a really interesting character. And then also they said that their second favorite character was Leper, both of them. And this is confirming, I think, alongside this other bit of info I'm about to give you, that Leper is probably, if anyone could be a protagonist in this series, it's Leper. And the reason is, if you do his backstory, he's actually someone, he seems like the good guy. He's like one of the only good people in just this universe. Like all the other characters, they have tragedy and they're trying to make up for it, or they do some morally gray things like, Grave Robber and Antiquarian. But Leper is just a good dude. And they really touched on that. And there's this other thing they said that I didn't really notice until they mentioned it, but in all of the back shrine or hero backstory shrines, the characters are like mostly blue and looking sad, and like the gold is kind of like behind them. And with Leper, all the gold is like in the front, and he's like looking proudly, outwards. And they're saying it's because with Leper, he's at peace with himself. Like these backstories don't upset him, and he's looking forward to whatever time he has left because he's dying. And so I thought that was really, really cool. And speaking of the backstory shrines, they are going to make the hero origin skins playable, and they wanted to do weapon skins. I don't know what weapon skins entails. The hero origin skins are pretty clear. If you play the backstories, you see what those are. What I will say with the origin skins, I think on the first roadmap they put out like a year ago, they had origin skins on there, And now it's not, they said, I think it's getting pushed to post 1.0, which, you know, I understand that's a lot of animation work, a lot of graphical work, so I get why, but it's interesting to see kind of what they envisioned and like what's getting moved and what's getting done ahead of time and stuff, and it's interesting. So that's it. Oh, and then actually some other trivia here. They talk about the Gaunt Churgeon. I thought it was Chirurgeon, whatever. It's Churgeon. At least that's how they said it. And that's the enemy that Sammy helped design, and I will put that up on screen if I remember during editing, which I should. And that's coming, you know, post 1.0. I didn't cover this originally. I probably should have, but, you know, it just slipped my mind. And they brought it up, so this is a good place to talk about it. But they gave the story of how they worked with Sammy and Make-A-Wish and stuff like that. And it was touching. I teared up a little bit. And so the other interesting thing that I found besides, you know, the questions and the stories was they talked about some cut content. And one of the first things they talked about, like it never made it to any, I don't think it made it to any like programming or coding or like any in-game stuff. But Chris said he was like conceptualizing a biome that was like giant themed. You know, all the enemies were giants, like big people, 4-slot enemies and stuff like that. And it was just cool to hear about that because, you know, I get flashbacks to DD1 and Confusion Spores and stuff like that. So they ended up not going with it, which, you know, power to them for picking and choosing. But that was an interesting idea. Maybe it'll come back as DLC. Who knows? It could be one of those things where they go, yeah, you know what, that was a good idea. Let's do it now that we have time. And then they talked about something else. It was like a puppet boss that makes your characters do things. And Chris said it had 7 fingers. So there were little tidbits and stories and stuff like that all throughout the interview or the Q&A, whatever you want to call it. So it was really fun to listen to. It's always fun to listen to the design process and how they approach things or their stories, because Chris and Tyler have been together for a long time, so they talk about things like how they were in Chris's basement, you know, theorizing what they wanted to do for DD2 and, you know, what their reservations were, what they didn't want to do, what they wanted to do, why they may not want to do another Darkest Dungeon game at the time. And it was pretty cool to hear that. So when it hits YouTube, I definitely recommend you take a listen if you're interested in, you know, more of a behind the scenes thing. If you just want to play the games, that's fine, I get it. But for us super nerds, this is the kind of stuff we live for. Back half of the video is going to be the, I guess, the update stuff, you know, like the official stuff here. And so they said that they're going to have an announcement either this week or next week. We don't know what it's going to contain. There's some guesses out there. I'm not going to speculate because nothing's confirmed, so I'm not going to do any rumors or whatever, much as I want to. But yeah, they talked about that. And this is where it gets interesting. So actually, we'll save the super juicy part for the end, because why not? They said they're going to do one update. I guess it all comes together, and then they're going to do a stagecoach, I don't call it overhaul, but they're going to change up how driving works. They're not going to make it like an action game or something. They're very clear about that, but they're going to make it so, you know, crashing into stuff is different or there's more of it. And they talked about traps returning, which I'm a bit scared of because I hated traps in the first game just because it was scouting and traps was just not fun. You know, I didn't like it. Some people did, but it's one of those things, like, the more you play the game, the more you just grow to hate it, I think, because the implementation is just... Right, getting off my soapbox, so you're just here for the news. So they talked about that, and they made it seem like there are scouting changes with the driving update, so how you know, pick routes and what you're allowed to see might change. They talked about weather being a factor, so the Tangle, you know, having rain. They didn't use this example, I think, but this is just, you know, the immediate example, because, you know, the Tangle is the only thing with actual weather right now. And so they talked about weather, messing up maybe, or not manipulating, but impacting, there we go. God, words are hard. Impacting how you drive and stuff like that. And we'll see what happens with that. And another thing they talked about, which was interesting that I'm a little scared of, is they talked about wagon maintenance. So giving the Wainwright more stuff to do. We don't know what that means. Like, is it just paying gold to fix the wagon? You know, the wheel falls off. It literally is Oregon Trail at that point. The wheel falls off. You have to ford the river. Who the hell knows? And then they talked about pets. I think they said the pets are coming with the wagon update. And so they said pets are like stagecoach trinkets. They're not just flat stats. It's not just, you know, equip this fox and everyone gets 2% crit chance. They said that, quote, the effects are random and far-reaching. That's what they said. And they gave a peek to two pets. One is something most of us probably assumed, and that's a baby shambler. So one of the pets will be a baby Shambino. And then another pet that they talked about, which I guess they said they got the idea from some random like Reddit thread. So you think they don't read feedback. They read all of it, dude. They are serious about this. So some Reddit thread where the guy was like, another cool pet idea would be a baby crocodilian. And so that's what they're doing. They didn't show any of the pictures, but they said baby croc is one of the two pets that they will tease to us. Which, you know, very cool. I think they said that the reason they're doing pets now is because the other systems are now fleshed out enough to where pets feel like they'll fit better and they don't have to go back and fix stuff with them. Which kind of emphasizes another point that I made in a video, and I've been talking about it with the community and stuff like that, is the game needs a hero rebalance patch. It is so glaringly obvious now, at least to me, that the game needs this. And yeah, some characters could benefit from reworks like Occultist, you know, with how his tokens and stuff play out. But really, some characters like Grave Robber just need like small damage bumps and like a passive for stealth or something. That's it. And they really need to do that because they're going to have to go forward and make all this new content and then come back and rebalance the heroes and then go back and rebalance the monsters. And it's like, just do the heroes now. I wish they talked more about that, or if they even had plans to do that, but they didn't. So that happens. But otherwise, driving update, pets at the same time, and a different update either before or after that. And the reason this is important that they talk about these two specific updates is because they said after the second update, so the driving update and then one other update, there are no more updates until the game launches. Like all the other changes are coming in 1.0, so the game could change so much in, you know, those few weeks. I think they said they'll want like 6 weeks to do it. And so we'll see some stuff then, man. That's going to be crazy, you know. And I'm a little nervous because I think they can do it. I'm more nervous, you know, in terms of being a content creator, because that's going to be a lot of changes all at once to catch up on. So it's going to kind of make my job harder. But John confirmed this in chat too. So John's their producer, I think. Really good dude. And, you know, because they said it on stream, and then I asked again in chat, and he said yes. You know, 2 updates until between now and 1.0. So it's not that they're not working on anything, it's just that they decided all the rest of the stuff that they have planned is going to happen between these updates and then 1.0, which I guess makes sense because all of the major overhauls to keep people invested, they've gotten done. So they did the Affinity rework, they did the Altar rework, they did trinkets, they're doing driving, and hopefully they're gonna get to frickin' heroes in this time, but they're gonna go dark for a while. And they said that they are much farther along than people think they are, which I guess is good news. You know, they said that just because, you know, they're not talking about final bosses, I mean, this part makes sense, doesn't mean that they're not working on them. They said that they're you know, at work on Act 4 and 5, you know, like right now, the fourth boss, the fourth mountain boss, and like the final big bad boss. Like they've been working on them, is what they said. And they made it very clear that the team, I think they said they have 25 people right now, and the team doesn't all work on the same thing at the same time, because not every project needs everyone together at the same time. They're talking about the, you know, pets is being made by a few people, the bosses and the heroes and stuff like that, those are being worked on by whoever, and, you know, all these other systems. Like there's teams working on stuff. So when they explain it that way, it does seem like they can get it done, especially if they're farther ahead than we thought. But that means that the 1.0 launch on May 8th, they have it at the bottom of the screen. The 1.0 launch will have the third hero, Act 4, Act 5, 2 mini bosses, and whatever other changes are out there. Who knows what the hell those are going to be. So like I said, I'm nervous, man, because it's just, I'm not nervous for the game, I'm nervous for myself. So I'm gonna have to make like a separate video talking about this, but the short end is probably when it gets closer to release, I'm just going to disappear. Or like, I'm not going to stream for a little bit. I'll probably upload some videos, but I'm going to be working on, you know, getting stuff like thumbnails made and prepping myself for a lot of streaming. And then also I will be making whatever videos I can with what I know of in the game. So that's where we're at. It was really cool. It was a great time. Moving my mouse, I shouldn't be moving my mouse. And thank you to Michaela for letting me stream it. I had to talk to her and she gave me the green light. She's the one hosting this, so very cool. And I think that is it for the video. And yes. All right, let me double check the notes real quick. Yeah, I think I got all of it. I don't want to make this video more than like 30 minutes, so thanks for watching. 1.0 news, exciting stuff. I'll see you next time, the next video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you're thinking down below. All right, goodbye.